Hello and welcome to PCMC. I'm Mike Bongiorno. I'm joined once again by Anthony Bongiorno.
Hello, everyone.
Anthony, how are you? Are you enjoying your quarantine?
Yes, I am. No, I'm not. It's horrible.
Yeah. So this episode of PCMC is
Our dream projects.
our dream projects. These are movies, books, TV shows that we would love to see. Nobody's trying to make them.
When we lay our heads down on our pillows at night and we're thinking about, wouldn't it be cool if there was a...
Right, exactly. I have no interest in making these myself. I just wish they were available for me to look at.
God, no. Yeah, I'd love somebody else to make them.
Now, my list is all movies because I'm a plebe.
Is TV, movies, and books. One book. Actually, it doesn't have to be a book. You'll see.
I have 5 and an honorable mention.
I have 5 and then one ridiculous one.
All right, great. So why don't you go first?
All right, so you know how we're living in the age of books being adapted into like Hulu or Netflix series?
Yes.
And like the book is all of season 1.
Yes.
And builds from there. So for a few years now, I've been thinking Salem's Lot by Stephen King would make an amazing series.
Okay, I've never read Salem's Lot.
Okay, it's great. It's about this little town that gets taken over slowly by Dracula's.
Okay.
And then it's just super fun. I think it might be my favorite book of his now.
Wow.
It's super, super fun. It's like old school scary vampires. And I just feel like it would be there's never been a good movie version of it. And I feel like it'd be great. It really is kind of episodic, and like the vampires' infiltration of the town happens like over the course of a year.
Yeah.
So I think it would make a great first season. And then, can I spoil it?
Well, all right, we'll say spoilers for the book Salem's Lot.
At the end, they like burn down the town and get away in a car. So for me, when I read that, I was like, oh, what an awesome like season finale of the first season. And then from there, it'd be like, now let's go back and see like what's left, who's survived.
You know what else you could do? You can do like a bottle episode of that short story he wrote that takes place in Salem's Lot. Do you know that one?
Yes, I do.
Where it's like it's like a snowstorm and these people come from out of town.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. So what does it look like in your mind?
I feel like it looks like, I'm trying to think of like a comparable TV show. I guess like The Handmaid's Tale, sort of in that vein, like well designed, interesting to look at. For some reason, in my head, I cast Mark Ruffalo as the lead.
Okay.
And then I think it's so cool that adaptation now seems to be going a lot more toward TV than film.
And that makes sense because novels are so expansive. Novels to television shows seems to make more sense.
Yeah, it does. And I like that when you have the original writer on board, like they did with Handmaid's Tale and even with like Orange is the New Black and whatever. Like usually the first season is the book, and then you build from there with the approval of the original person.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's my first idea.
That's really cool. I like that. So mine is I guess it's a remake. I want to see a film of The Haunted Mansion. Disney.
There is one.
Yes, Disney made a Haunted Mansion film with Eddie Murphy, and it's sort of like a silly kids comedy. It doesn't really. I mean, the story of the ride is very convoluted, so it's hard to tell the story of the ride, but it's not really the story of the ride. But here's how I imagined it. I imagined it as a classic Disney 2D animation.
Whoa.
And like the way they used to do it, like the old movies, like Rescuers or Lady and the Tramp, like that kind of look, ink and paint.
Okay.
And it'll be a musical, but Grim Grinning Ghost, the song from the attraction, will be like the big end of Act 1 showstopper.
Okay.
And it'll be the aesthetic of the ride. It'll be spooky but lighthearted. I would see it, like if I were the director of it, I would fight to use the old Disney logo.
Yeah.
So you would think it's like, so it looks like an old Disney movie.
That's cool. I feel like in this age where a lot of attractions are being adapted, Disney might do something like that.
Well, there is...
And forget about the old Eddie Murphy one.
Well, there has been in development for like a long time a Guillermo del Toro version, but it doesn't seem to be happening.
Huh.
But I don't even know if he'd get it right.
Yeah. I loved The Princess and the Frog, and I think that I guess it didn't do as well as they thought it would, but it seems like ever since then they've just completely abandoned 2D animation.
Yeah.
And I'd love for them to do another 2D feature.
Yes.
I think this would be a good one. I think that's a great idea.
All right.
Sorry, before we move on, did you know that there is a Steve Guttenberg vehicle? There's a Disney TV movie of the Tower of Terror.
Yes.
But it is not based on the Twilight Zone, as strange as that is.
Yeah, I have heard of that. That's so odd.
Very odd. Okay, but anyway. My next one is my sole film on the list. I really want to see a film adaptation of the musical Spring Awakening.
I'm not familiar with that at all.
I love it. I listen to the soundtrack all the time, still, like 10 years later. I think it's my favorite musical I've ever seen. The music is by Duncan Sheik of I Am Barely Breathing.
Okay.
And for a while there, it was it was poised to be like the next Rent. Like there were a lot of like Spring Awakening heads and like kids who went to see it a lot. But then the 2008 recession happened and Broadway got hit hard and it closed. So it kind of, I don't know, it's like this thing that like Broadway people like, but it hasn't come back yet, like as a revival.
What's the narrative of it?
It's just it's like a coming of age narrative. It takes place in Germany during the, I want to say 19th century, but it's got like a really interesting rock score.
Okay.
It's really good. The soundtrack, it's one of those shows that has a soundtrack you could listen to just to listen to.
It seems like it's been forgotten.
Yeah, it's a rock musical by Duncan Sheik. It's based on an 1891 German play. Set in the late 19th century Germany, musical tells a story of teenagers discovering their inner and outer tumult of teenage sexuality. There's a lot of sex in it. In the musical, alternative rock is employed as part of the folk-infused rock score.
Okay.
The original cast had some cool people in it. Jonathan Groff was in the original cast. Leah Michelle. Who else was in it? Skylar.
How were reviews at the time?
Positive. Very positive.
That's fascinating. It really, have they ever put it on again?
Not on Broadway again. Oh, wait. There's a Broadway revival. This might be in the works right now, actually. It was small and it closed. Huh.
Okay.
Wow. It was really short. Yeah, no, it's never come back in a real way.
All right. Okay, my next one is a film adaptation of my favorite YA, Eleanor and Park. I see it directed by someone like the director Steven Soderbergh. I think it should be handheld. It should have natural light. It should have unexperienced actors. It should go for a visually realistic look. I think where YA movies fuck up is they always go for like a Lifetime, Hallmark, glossy, overly attractive, sort of like poppy, twee soundtrack. Like, I loved the book A Fault in Our Stars, and I thought it was very raw and real. And then the film version of it had very good-looking kids, and it was very glossy, and I think it lost what made it good.
I agree.
So Rainbow Row's Eleanor and Park, I think what the rawness of that love story is what makes it interesting. And for a while they were trying to make it, and she was writing a screenplay for it, but it never came to be. I don't know if it ever will come to be, but I would love to. It's like, sometimes when you read a book, you picture a movie. I don't always do that, but sometimes I do. And I picture it like that. I picture it, the drama of it should come from the story, not from a heavy-handed director trying to push your sentiment. It shouldn't be sentimental. It should be done in a sort of realistic way, because that's the way, that rawness is how it feels. Yeah. Especially when you're young and in love. I think that one lends itself to being adapted into a series also. I don't know if I agree with that, but certainly would be good. I feel like like their relationship develops very slowly over time. That's true. Maybe it could be like, I don't know. I feel like it's gonna happen. Maybe Beanie Feldstein should play Eleanor. She's gonna be too old. Yeah, but she could play younger. Or you find like nobodies. You find like real kids, Yeah. Okay, I like that. Yeah, it just can't be like Shailene Woodley in Fault in Our Stars, where like she's got the fucking. Okay, Grandpa, it's Shailene Woodley. It can't be like that. Cheyenne.
Who's that Cheyenne? She's pretty.
She's like, they have her with like the oxygen in her nose, but she's also made up and looks crazy hot. And it's like, come on, guys.
And you know what my problem is? I actually think Shailene is a great actress. The kid who plays Gus is a bad actor.
Yeah.
And he's just not right for the role at all.
Yeah.
All right, so I like that Alan Norman Park movie. I hope that happens. I hope you get your wish.
Thank you.
All right, so my next one is a reality show foray.
Whoa.
So I have a Bravo addiction.
Yeah.
I love the Real Housewives. And this may be a local cut, deep cut, but I really think there needs to be a Real Housewives of Staten Island.
Well, there was New York, wasn't there?
There is New York, but it's not Staten Island.
How would you see Staten Island?
Because, I mean, you live here, and our listeners who live on Staten Island, it's a very interesting place culturally, and it's not like the women, we're looking for middle-aged, horrible white women, and Staten Island has plenty to go around.
It would be a lot of gaudy women it would be like, wouldn't it be like Mob Wives a little bit?
No, because Mob Wives is trash, and that's not Bravo. That's lower tier reality. That's VH1 reality.
Okay.
No, I feel like it would be interesting because it would be like a marriage of New York City and New Jersey. Because I feel like Staten Island in a lot of ways is that stepping stone between New Jersey and New York City. And I don't know. I think we've got all the makings here. Like, we've got the women
who think they're rich, but they aren't.
Yes.
Think they have class, but they don't.
Yes. We've got, everybody knows each other. So we've got the connections, and that always makes the show fun.
Yeah. I
also just that, like, the city itself is a character, like the fifth lady in Sex and the City.
Oh,
so
come on.
Staten Island would really be like a housewife in her own right. I just think it would be great.
That would be great. When we're off the air and we could be more specific, we should figure out who we think should be the cast of people we know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I've got some people in mind. All right, that's a good idea. I think that would actually be very popular if it came out. Okay. So my next one would be an adaptation of Charles Bukowski's Post Office.
Okay.
Now, there's been 2 movies about Bukowski, or based on his writing. One is called Barfly, which I believe was an original screenplay he wrote, so it's not based on anything he did. And that was a big failure. What?
It's based on his alcoholism.
Right. But it's his alter ego, Henry Chinansky.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the whole thing. But from what I remember, or from the clips that I've seen, it tries to be too sexy and like...
Is that Mickey Rourke?
Yes.
Well, I mean, Mickey Rourke and sexy.
Right. Especially at that time.
Hand in hand.
And then in like the 2000s or the early 2000s, they did a movie out of Factotum, another one of his novels. Where that one failed was they took it way too seriously and lost a lot of the comedy of Bukowski.
Okay.
Bukowski is funny, and he should be satirical. Where, that one had, what's his name? Matt Dillon.
Yes.
As Bukowski. Again, too good looking. And it was too, like, sexy boozy.
Yeah.
And they would weave in some of his poetry as, like, voiceover. So it wasn't really a straight adaptation of the book.
Yeah.
And Post Office is a very funny book. It's about someone working in the post office and being a drunk and wants to be a writer. It ends with him deciding to just be a writer.
Yeah, I read that book in college, and I don't remember one damn thing about it.
It's very episodic. It's like he goes from job to job, but he keeps ending up back at the post office.
I feel like I left a copy of that in the house.
We may have read the same copy.
It probably is. The blue one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want it to be directed by Taika Waititi.
Okay.
Or someone like Taika Waititi, because he has a great sense of comedy, obviously. What We Do in the Shadows is really funny. He's a very funny person. But he also has a good sense of drama. Have you seen Jojo Rabbit yet?
No, but I heard it's great.
From Jojo Rabbit, I think he'd be perfect for it. He can make something land as dramatic in a real way, not in a sentimental way. But he could also see the comedy in something very tragic and sad. So he'd be perfect for it. And I'd like John C. Reilly to play Henry Chinansky.
That's good. That's good.
You want somebody like goofy. Know who would be good? Chris Pratt pre-getting into shape.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to say Dane Cook.
No. He's like 71, I think.
You know, John C. Reilly's name has been thrown around a lot when people speculate about a film version of Confederacy of Dunces.
Interesting. All right, so Charles Bukowski's Post Office. I should also say, for anyone who's maybe wants to read it, Bukowski does not fit into the Me Too world. He is sexist, and in real life, he was violent towards women. He's not a hero by any means, but he's a fascinating writer.
I always think of that documentary of him on his birthday, so drunk, and then he just kicks his girlfriend with his feet.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah. He goes, you fucking whore!
It's so bad.
You can this is a different topic, but you can like someone's work and not agree with them as a person. That's allowed.
And what? Not now.
Yeah, he would be canceled so hard right now.
Oh, yeah, it's a good thing he's dead.
Yes. All right, what's your next one?
Okay, my next one is, so this one is a book that I'd like to see written, but I will not write.
Sure, no.
And it also could be adapted into a film or written as a film. I've always had this idea, somebody, again, not me, writing a companion to Kill a Mockingbird from the point of view of Tom Robinson's daughter.
Oh, that'd be so good.
Because obviously what's problematic about To Kill a Mockingbird is that, you know, it's criticized for being like a white savior novel.
Yeah.
And it's told from the point of view of the little girl, Scout. I always thought it would be interesting, since we do know that Tom Robinson, the accused man, does have children. If he had like a daughter who's Scout's age, who maybe even knows her, who tells the story, but her dad's not the heroic lawyer, her dad's the man who's going to be hanged.
Right. That's a great idea.
And for many reasons, I would never write that, but I think someone should. Right.
Well, an African-American should write it.
Yeah. Female.
I'm imagining it as a film.
Yeah, I guess I am too. It could be written just as a film. It doesn't have to be a novel. But I think it would be a much more like authentic representation of the Black experience. And it would also still pay homage to To Kill a Mockingbird, because for all its faults, it still is a great book.
See, maybe this is disrespectful to people who love To Kill a Mockingbird, but if I wrote your idea, I would characterize Atticus Finch kind of self-righteous and pompous. I think that would be the way to make him.
That's what happened with Aaron Sorkin did that. So there was, when To Kill a Mockingbird on Broadway, which is now the most successful Broadway play of all time, it held up for a little while because the Harper Lee estate got their hands on the adaptation. They had a big problem with Aaron Sorkin's changes, and there aren't very many, but the one change that he did make was he adds a scene between Atticus and the maid, Calpurnia, where she basically tells him, kind of like they get into an argument, and she rips him apart saying, like, you are respecting all the wrong kind of people, and the people who support you, you're spitting on in the name of having respect for everybody, and that's what you're teaching your kids.
Interesting.
So she basically accuses him of being like self-righteous and kind of like a coward, you know, because Atticus's whole thing is always like, do the right thing always. And basically what she says is like, when people are shitty, you don't have to treat them well. Why are you teaching your kids that?
I like that. That's interesting.
It's a great scene. The Calpurnia character, Sorkin, really develops a lot in the play.
Sure.
But the Harper Lee estate was very upset that it changed Atticus. But after Ghost at a Watchman...
Who cares about what they have to say?
I know. Who cares about Atticus's reputation?
Yeah, they kind of make him look like that in Ghost at a Watchman.
Yeah, in Ghost at a Watchman, it's all about like her coming to terms with the fact that her father is not a god because he has some racist views.
Yeah. Interesting. That's a really good idea.
Okay, cool.
Let's see. Okay, so this would be a remake. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
That was just made.
I've talked about why I hated that movie. It wasn't an anthology. It strung all the short stories together and tried to make one narrative out of it that made no sense. The way it needs to be made is it needs to be an anthology where it tells different stories and they're their own contained stories. But I think it needs to be in black and white. And I think it needs a very high contrast look, high contrast between the light and dark. And one way to do that is to film on 16 millimeter film and then blow it up, which is what they did with Blair Witch and what they did with Night of the Living Dead. I think that would give it that's the better way to try to capture the feeling of the book. And I want it to be directed by Ari Aster or someone like Ari Aster.
You wouldn't want that to be animated, like based on the illustrations?
No. I mean, I'd be for that, but that's not how I'm imagining it.
Again, I feel like I have to say...
Well, that would definitely be a series more.
That's what I'm saying.
It would definitely be better as a series, but I'm just, in my head, I'm kind of remaking the movie that came out last year.
What a disaster.
Yeah, that was not good. That was not good.
Okay. Is that your last one?
No, I've got one more and an honorable mention.
Okay, yeah, me too.
All right, what's your next one?
Okay, so I'm a big Sex and the City fan.
Yeah.
And, if we were doing the episode about, like, things that were supposed to happen but didn't, obviously Sex and the City 3, the fans are clamoring.
Yeah.
The clock is running out. But my idea is I think we should abandon the whole feature film thing altogether. And I think there should be a Sex and the City sequel series with a new, young New Yorker taking over the Sex and the City column, but this time around, like, it's a podcast.
Okay.
And it's about her and her diverse group of girlfriends. And then Sarah Jessica Parker is recurring as, like, a mentor figure.
So she's like Han Solo?
Yes.
I could see that happening.
I want it to happen.
That's a very good idea.
And it would be a way to, like, right the wrongs of the original, too.
Right.
And I think if they're going to do it, I think they should just forget the movies and pick up from where the show left off.
The only problem is you'd have to get somebody who would keep their eye on the narrative thread and not fall into, like, kitschy traps. Like, we got to make sure they tweet, and we got to make sure that there's a lot of we've got to have a whole episode that's about Grindr. Like, you've got to make sure that, like, it's still about character and story.
Yeah, I agree with you, but also I do kind of like the early episodes that were a lot more about sex.
Yeah.
Where, like, she was really, like, a sex columnist. I feel like modern Sex and the City column would have, like, an episode about Grindr, an episode about Tinder and shit like that.
No, that would be good, but what I'm saying is that can't be the focus. You can't just be there trying to modernize every element from the original show.
No, it should be about the friendships still.
Exactly.
And the relationships of the friendships.
Right.
But I think, yeah, and I could see, like, some of the original cast members, like, dropping in and out maybe, but definitely SJP would be, like, a recurring character.
How about her great-grandmother is Samantha?
That was a horrible dig.
Like, that's like, it's like kind of like Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. I read something from someone who said, like, we should all be thanking Kim Cattrall because they got their hands on the Sex and the City 3 treatment and it was going to be awful. And they were like, thank Kim Cattrall because if she didn't say no, we would have an even worse third installment.
I don't know where I land on the Cattrall-Parker feud.
I mean, I love Sarah Jessica Parker, and I feel like it says a lot that the other two women are very close with Sarah Jessica, and nobody's kind of friends with Kim Cattrall. But Kim Cattrall maintains that Sarah Jessica Parker acts like she's a good girl, but she's not. Yeah. And what I don't like about it is that throughout the whole series, the tabloids, like they do with any project that has a lot of female actors, they like try to focus on like drama between the women. Yeah. And they were always like, no, we're professional, you know, whatever. And then Kim Cattrall, even though she's allowed to speak her truth, kind of like now is giving credit to all of those gossip columns from the 2000s and late 90s that were like, Kim Cattrall and Sarah Jessica Parker, catfight. Okay. You know, like I feel like Kim Cattrall maybe should have just like kept it professional. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's the reason they're not doing more. Because that whole thing boiled, you know what I mean? It came to a head. I mean, she'll never, if they do anything, she'll either be dead or she'll be recast by someone else. Or again, like Rise of Skywalker, it'll be a clone of her. Yeah. Janine said that it'll start with Samantha's funeral, and they'll say, oh, Samantha died of old age. Hilarious. All right, so let me give you my honorable mention before I do my last one. And the last one is the one I'm most excited about. This hasn't really been a list of top 5, but this is the one I'm most excited about. But let me give you my honorable mention. I would like, for once and for all, someone to make a true, faithful adaptation of Frankenstein. Yes. I am 100% on board with you. And also, because another crime is that there's some versions that act like they're more faithful, like the Francis Ford Coppola one pretends like it's more faithful, but it isn't. Right. The Francis Ford Coppola one's title is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And it is not Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
other than him talking a little bit, it's not the story of, and it's not the craziest story. You could easily make it into, or like you said, a series. It could be a series or a movie of the actual story with those actual characters. And it kind of blows my mind that no one has ever done it.
I know. I just recently taught Frankenstein, and one of my students wrote her paper on Frankenstein as a cultural icon versus the original novel. And at this point, it's like almost impossible. Like, I feel like no one would have any faith in it.
Well, that's the thing. You'd have to have a director who has guts and would say, like, okay, rule number one, we don't homage the original Frankenstein films. We don't reference them. We don't wink at them. We don't have any problem with them, but they have no part in this.
Yeah.
That would be the way to do it.
Yeah. And even, like, staying true to the book where, like, the biggest thing, well, one of the biggest things that, like, you know, Frankenstein's one of those things where, like, people think they know it because they're familiar with the movie and the cartoon versions and whatever. But, like, if you read the actual book, he never reveals to the reader what the secret of reanimation is because he doesn't want the reader to try it. It's not electricity. He doesn't say it. I mean, it's implied that it could be, but he doesn't ever reveal it. And that's a big point, is that it's a cautionary tale and he doesn't want to tell the secret.
Right.
And everybody's like, even you'll go online and you'll see, like, summaries of the novel, and it'll say, just like it's fact, oh, he uses electricity to bring a corpse back to life.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
That is not it. Maybe because The Invisible Man did well, we might see a faithful adaptation of Frankenstein.
But The Invisible Man did well, but it's not at all a faithful adaptation of the original novel.
No, it's not, but the tone is different. Like, the tone of Tom Cruise's The Mummy tried to be like this big Avengers type superhero movie, and that failed. And Dracula Untold tried to be a superhero movie. So I'm thinking the tone of Invisible Man was sort of scary and about tension and anxiety and thrills. And maybe that tone could be what inspires them to make a more faithful Frankenstein.
Yeah, I hope somebody does it, because the closest thing we have is the Francis Ford Coppola one, because it's in the right time period, and the monster talks a little bit, but not like he does in the book. It follows, the first two acts follow the book pretty closely, but then the third act goes totally off the rails and is entirely different.
Right, yeah.
And I don't think that movie as a movie, I think it's pretty good, but it's not a faithful adaptation of the novel. I
actually love the James Whale's movies, especially Bride of Frankenstein. As their own thing, they're brilliant. I really love Bride of Frankenstein. I love how queer it is. I love how bananas it is. Although there's one small section of that film that's a good adaptation, him with the woodsman. They put that in Bride, and that's kind of faithful, but...
Well, the whole idea of Bride is from the book, that at one point he asks for a mate.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much that's lost about, like, Paradise Lost and the biblical allusions and the allusions to Prometheus. I mean, none of that is in any of the film adaptations.
Right. So tell me your crazy one that you had.
Oh, so last night, I feel like Janine's getting a lot of shout outs in this episode. Janine and I were FaceTiming and we were just talking about stupid things that we wish existed. And we were both cracking up over a remake of The First Wives Club with an all-dog cast.
Okay. That's so stupid.
Like, look who's talking now.
Yeah.
It's because we were FaceTiming and Maisie, my dog, was there, and then we started talking about whose dog would be what character.
Was it because I said your dog has a very Diane Keaton vibe?
No, I didn't even think of that. But she said that her mom's dog is kind of sad and lets people walk all over her, so she'd be the Diane Keaton. We decided that Maisie would be the Goldie Hawn. And then there's another dog in her family named Ruby, who's kind of frumpy, so that's the Bette Midler. It's totally ridiculous.
In the 50s, they made a pilot for a TV show that was Superman, but they were all dogs. And they even used the sets from the Superman show from the 50s, but it's all people in dog costumes.
Was it for little kids?
I guess it would have been for little kids. They only ever made a pilot because it was just insane.
What was the deal with, throughout our history, a lot of things being adapted into, like, animal characters? Like, remember the Mighty Ducks TV show was Real Ducks?
Yeah.
And then there was like the Ghostbusters ripoff that was all animals.
Yeah. Well, no, there was one gorilla, and that one actually came out before the other Ghostbusters.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I know what you. Yeah.
There was that Robin Hood movie that was all animals.
Right. They're remaking that, Disney. So I wonder if they're going to do it with like a real fox.
Like everybody always says the live action Lion King as if they're real lions acting.
Yes. All right. So my last one, and this is the one I really would love to see, a Doctor Who movie.
Okay.
There's been attempts at a Doctor Who movie a lot. Well, actually, I should say there are 2 Doctor Who movies from the 60s where Peter Cushing plays the Doctor. But those are not canon because in those versions, he's actually he's a human from Earth.
Okay.
For some reason, I don't know why they did that. But I would like to see a Doctor Who movie, and I would like it to be, it could be in continuity with the show, but it doesn't have to be. And I would want it to be its own Doctor. I would like that Doctor to go unnumbered. Just do the idea. Just do the idea of a magic alien who finds these normal people and connects with them and goes on an adventure.
Would it be like an origin story?
Not for the Doctor, but it would be like a pilot, or it would be like the way, whenever they do a new Doctor or have a new companion, there's the narrative of like they meet.
Calibrate it, yeah.
Yeah. It would be like that. It would be the Doctor meets somebody, and it would be, I would like to see it directed by someone who could get the magical right. Like David Yates, who directed a lot of the later Harry Potter movies. He once said publicly that he would love to direct a Doctor Who movie. I think he'd actually be really good at that.
Would this be the kind of thing, see, here's where you're going to run into trouble. I feel like what they could do is make it like, okay, this can be your entree to Doctor Who for the average person.
Yeah.
But then you're going to have the fanboys who are going to get pissed about that.
No, it would absolutely anger some of the fans. But some of Doctor Who fans are like Star Wars fans now, who like they'll just make video essays about how the new female Doctor is the worst thing that ever happened. So it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea. I feel like it would make money too.
There was a short time in the 90s where Steven Spielberg wanted to make a Doctor Who movie, and that ended up never happening.
It could also be like one of those, you know how there are those random like standalone Bond films that
Yeah.
don't go with the others? It could be like that.
Yeah, that's how I'd see it. All right, Anthony, thank you for being here. This has been PCMC. This is a podcast that can be found anywhere podcasts are available. You can follow at Pop Culture Manchildren on Instagram or at PCMC Pod on Twitter. We end every episode by saying, go bye-bye.